I won't go into this, but arising and shining are kind of two different things. You can look that up yourself. I don't have time to go into it, but it's kind of cool. You see, when you look at what he's trying to tell us today, the spirit of darkness, not the kingdom of darkness. I'm not going to give Satan that much credit to have his own kingdom. We sometimes give him way too much credit to have his own kingdom. There's only one person who has a kingdom. That's Papa God. The kingdom of God is the only kingdom that we need to recognize. The kingdom of darkness, let's call it a spirit of darkness, not a kingdom. You can look that up too, because I believe that's right. He has domain, he has dominion over a place. But I'm not going to give him credit for calling it a kingdom. The spirit of darkness wants to bring despair, wants to bring lack of hope, wants to bring us to a place where we cannot believe for new dreams and new visions and new places to go. That spirit of darkness wants to put us in a corner and say, you stay over there. You have no right. You have no right, no authority to do anything in this kingdom you say you believe in. The whisper in your ear, you're a failure. The whisper in your ear that you are a nobody. The whispering of your ear that might suggest that you walk in a place that you weren't called to walk. Darkness. That's not what the Father's come. Sean Smith said something one time. He said that we cannot afford to have a recess in this season. No recess. I need a recess. I get that. But we're not talking about a recess for you to take time to rest, to take time to rejuvenate. We're talking about we cannot stop believing and understanding that we are in a battle. And there's no time for us to stop and disengage. People need to know and to hope and dream again. There's a word I've used for years around here, holy expectation. You can't just expect one time to come to church and God shows up and that's it. We need to expect the presence of God to operate every single day in your life. To wake up with an expectation. It might take me a few hours to get to the place where I can comprehend really what I think that means for me. Because I don't really prefer mornings. But I don't care when it is that you awaken yourself and you realize you're in a place. You need to decree over your life. This is a new day. This is a new beginning for me. Not a new year, but a new day for me. A new beginning for me. A new mercy being given to me. New mercies, plural. And I'm determined to walk with expectation. It needs to be a banner over me that says, great expectation. Great expectation. For what? For the purposes of God to be fulfilled in your life. Darkness will blind you to what the light of Christ is illuminating. Arise. Stand up for something in the kingdom today. If you're not standing for something, if you're not fighting for something, if you're not warring for something in the kingdom, I kind of question what your pursuit looks like. Sometimes things force us into a position where we have to get on our knees and begin to fight like we've never fought before. How's your knees right now? Is there some calluses on them at all? From being on your knees and praying? That's kind of a picture that we think of when people posture themselves in prayer. I'm not suggesting that's the only way. I would rather have calluses on my feet because I don't do well on my knees because I get bored and I can easily get into a place where just things distract me. So I have to do what I call my little runway when I pray. I have to get a place and I have to just walk. That might be the same place, but I have to walk. Hopefully I can wear a little thing in not this carpet, but some carpet someplace somewhere. Maybe it's I don't know. That's not the point. You get what I'm trying to say. Stand up for something. Display the goodness of God in your life, not despair. Don't live out of despair. Don't live out of live out of Don't live out of oh man. Live out of yeah. You see the difference? Yeah, God's good. Man. Our thinking does have to change a bit for the new year. It's not a New Year's message, but I'm going to touch on it anyway. You know, it's been a dream through some of the prophets in the last number of years. I know that's come forth from, I can't remember some of the people that come to my mind, but they prayed this prayer. And if I say it, you'll remember probably who kind of started or whatever, but there are some camps praying for 1 billion souls. 1 billion souls. They're praying for 1 billion soul harvest. That's contending. That's arising and shining. That's living in expectation and hope and not despair in darkness. That's decreeing something that's way beyond our ability to fulfill. For me, 1 billion souls in this city would be 100 souls. You get what I'm saying? What are we contending for as a people? We have spread so much vision in this church. Dreamt a dream. We've dreamed dreams. And we're still dreaming dreams. The fulfillment of those dreams is not found in how well I can live it out personally as a pastor. It's found in, are we willing to dream a dream together? Are we willing to change our perspective and rise in our thinking and begin to dream for 1 billion souls? How about we just dream for 100,000 souls in San Diego? That would be pretty cool. But it can take it beyond the 100,000. Why can't we believe for 500,000 souls in San Diego County? These kinds of things are a cry of justice over our cities. We cannot afford, though, to let the darkness dictate how we pursue the promises of God. We cannot. We cannot allow CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, or any other newscast cable network to dictate my theology and my belief that greater is the God that we serve than the spirit of the Antichrist outside the walls. Amen. Anything that's against God is the Antichrist spirit. Amen. You guys okay? Yeah. All right. Me too. Me too. Couple more things here that I want to just share with you. We use language around here called revival. We like the word revival. We like revivalist. Some people want to relegate revival to a series of meetings. We have revival meetings. That works. But being a revivalist in the midst of a revival simply means that I'm going to walk out my life the way that God's told me to walk it out, in power and authority, where signs and wonders follow them that believe. I think Crosspointe Life needs a reboot when it comes to understanding revival. Just because we've tasted God in the years gone by, and just because we've had some wonderful things happen and great people come through, does not mean that we sustain revival. You know what sustaining revival means? It means that we never give up on the promises of God. We keep fighting. We keep staying on the front lines. We keep believing that the promises of God will come to pass. We don't give up because of difficulties. We don't give up because I don't get what I want. We don't give up because a job changed. So we don't give up. We fight because it's the right thing. We roar because there's people dying and going to hell. We fight as a church because it's the proper thing to do. We don't do church for the sake of doing church. We are the church. So we blame anything in our life. Sometimes we need to blame ourselves for not living out the way we should live out the church life. The church life should be about revival. It ought to be about goodness. It ought to be about arising and shining. It ought to be about imparting what you carry. It ought to be about saying, I cannot take another breath without believing that my neighbors, my marketplace friends, my family are going to go to hell without Jesus. Don't mistake false doctrine out there. Don't mistake the reality that there is a hell, there is a heaven, and people will go to a place called hell if they do not know Jesus Christ. Hope that doesn't make you uncomfortable. Hope you're pretty secure in Jesus. In Exodus chapter 14, verse 31, it says this: Thus Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt. So the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. Many people believe this is the first revival found in the scriptures, that God brought revival to the children of Israel in Egypt. How many understand that the children of Israel in the middle of Egypt can experience revival, darkness in that era? They were slaves. They were treated poorly. They were treated just like that, as slaves. But yet God did a work in their midst. He brought revival, if you will, to thus Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt. I'm ready for us to say this. I'm ready for us to say the same thing. Thus, the people of God in La Mesa saw the great work which the Lord had done in San Diego. I'm going to tell you something. God's moving, whether you see it or not, He's moving in San Diego. God has promised a revival in San Diego, the likes of which we've never seen before. He's promised that. Prophetically, prophets have stood even in this pulpit and said that there was a prototype coming to the San Diego region. Michael, I believe in part, if not a great deal of it, could be through what we're seeing happen with Unite San Diego in the region. It's time to reunite our hearts, build the kingdom of God's given us to build through the crosspointe, but come alongside other churches and other pastors and other cities and say, together we can be transformation to the city of San Diego and its region. We can, and we shall. How do we do that? We arise, we shine in the midst of darkness. No weapon fashioned against you or me can prosper unless we allow it. There needs to be a cry of justice. See, revivals cause a great move of advancement, and we must believe God for a city. Hear my heart when I say this. La Mesa needs Jesus. And it doesn't matter whether you live in La Mesa or not. La Mesa needs Jesus. Santee needs Jesus. El Cajon needs Jesus. And the list goes on. Will you believe for revival in La Mesa? You're believing for revival in Santee, and El Cajon, East County, and San Diego. But God's put authority in this church, in this city, for such a time. We're to be a sign, as Sean Smith taught us. We're to be a sign of God's goodness in our life. You are that sign. You are that sign. God needs to restore the awe, the fear of Him. We've lost conviction. We've lost the awe of God. We've lost it in church. We need to return to it. Not controlling, not manipulative, not religious, but true, authentic conviction. God speaks to your conscience for a reason. He speaks to your conscience to speak what's right and what's wrong. And I think sometimes what we do is like, well, it's just too religious. We're not putting earsticks on anybody. It's between you and the Father. When He speaks to you about not doing something, you have a responsibility to say, yes, Father, I'm not going to do it. Not a religious performance or manipulation, but simply because you're in love with Jesus. You're in love with your Father. What's He telling us today? What's He telling you? Go into the new year determined that you're going to listen to what God is telling you and telling us and be obedient to that. We talked about